Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. After meeting with the finance minister, private sector representatives had some of their fears allayed, but they still have a number of concerns. That's according to the Barbados Private Sector Association, which, along with the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, met with Minister Sinclair and other ministry officials earlier today. Kent Jerson has that story.
Representatives from the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Barbados Private Sector Agency gathered at government headquarters for a much-anticipated meeting with Finance Minister Chris Sinclair and ministry officials. They went into the meeting just before the 11 a.m. scheduled start. When they emerged just after 1 in the afternoon, BPSA Chairman Charles Herbert spoke on behalf of the two agencies, saying they had a very cordial meeting with the minister and ministry officials. He said the minister addressed a number of their concerns, among them the National Social Responsibility Levy, which the private sector believes will result in some hardship.
Most importantly for us, he has said that the NSRL is a short-term revenue measure and that the main policies will be developed in consultation with the social partnership for the medium-term strategies. And it is these medium-term strategies that were our focus of concern, and he has assured us that that dialogue will be coming, and it will be coming as a matter of urgency. And to use his words, we won't be meeting weekly, we'll be meeting daily.
Mr. Herbert says the minister also spoke to the uncertainty and potentially damaging impact that could result from the implementation of the Foreign Exchange Commission.
He has assured us that the central bank has issued the details of how it will operate, and in particular this addresses our main concern that it should be on net foreign exchange purchases and not on gross foreign exchange purchases. And this has a very big, this addresses the main concern that the offshore industry had.
The BPSA head adds, however, that they still have some concerns.
I think that if there are measures agreed subsequently that modify the NSRL to help to reduce its impact on the most vulnerable in society, that too will meet some of our concerns. And I think most of all, if we seriously get down to work on our medium-term strategies, then I think that's what will bind Barbados together, where all of the social partners actually buy into a medium-term solution.
Later, the finance minister was scheduled to meet with representatives from the Barbados International Business Association. He's expected to follow that up with meetings tomorrow involving the Barbados Manufacturers Association and the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association. Kent Jerson, CBC News.
Thanks, Kent. Well, although Barbados was spared the brunt of what is now Tropical Storm Brett, the island did record 3 minor incidents. Director of the Department of Emergency Management, Kerry Hines, says the impact was felt in the north, along the south coast and the center of the island.
One in St. Lucie, and our district emergency organization, they would have responded to that. It was a roof that was partially blown off. And then there were 2 additional reports, one in Farmers St. Thomas with a tree falling across the road, which impeded traffic flow for a little while, and 1 report in Worthing Beach, which was dealt with by the Drainage Department.
Ms. Hines says the DEM was made aware of the weather system by the Barbados Met Service when it started brewing in the Atlantic last week. She says the department alerted the agencies of the National Emergency Management System to be on standby as part of its standard operating procedure.
To respond as required. Over the weekend, when the tropical storm warning was issued, which essentially meant that storm conditions were imminent, we again called for persons to be vigilant, be ready to respond, and for the public to encourage them to take the necessary precautions and listen to the various weather updates. Now, yesterday morning, the Met Service indicated that the system would not have been as significant as previously forecasted, so the tropical storm warning was discontinued. But we still advise persons to be on the guard and take the necessary precautions because we still expected winds and rains to affect us here in Barbados.
The Barbados Water Authority could be taking legal action against customers, bringing an end to a worrying trend. Manager of the Wastewater Division, Patricia Innes, is sounding the warning to mainly businesses. Investigations have revealed that some of them have adjusted their systems to allow their storm drains to feed into the sewage network. This is a big problem for the BWA, and according to her, the authority will do whatever is necessary to bring an end to the practice. She says it poses a threat to the sewage system and could lead to flooding in some communities.
In monitoring a number of business establishments who maybe unwittingly or unknowingly have been allowing their storm drains to feed into the network. It is a closed system. We have actually sent correspondence out to a number of businesses, and more will be going out, because we have to realize, even if it comes to the extent of legal realities, we have to protect Barbados. In essence, everybody has to drive on the left side of the road. Failing that, there are accidents.
Ms. Innes made the comments as teams from the Wastewater Division continue their preparations and upgrades for the Atlantic hurricane season. Systems are currently stable, and she says this is due in part to cooperation from most customers on the South Coast on the Fats, Oils and Grease or FOG control program. She says her officers have provided lots of positive feedback.
They have reported that everyone is amicable to their approach, and we have been now doing a lot of monitoring of grease traps and interceptors. There's still a long way to go, but I think Barbadians are getting to realize that many things we put into a sewage are not to be in it, and that compounds the problem. So that the sanitary network of Barbados, which is in essence a closed network, is not the place for putting syringe needles, old rags, mops, construction debris, and a range napkins of all sorts and a range of items. Every single one of those compounds and adds to the problem of flooding.
And you'll hear more from Ms. Innes about those preparations to avert flooding and concerns about sewage on the South Coast on the next edition of Water Wednesdays. That's coming up tomorrow at 7:55 p.m. right here on the CBC Evening News. As the global political economy continues to develop, Barbados needs to put measures in place to ensure its youth are well equipped to face the challenges of the future. Word of this from Governor General Sir Elliott Belgrave during a ball held by Sir Elliott to celebrate the Elliott and Loretta Belgrave Scholarship Fund.
Barbadians who have the academic talent needed to keep the island on par with the rest of the world should not be disadvantaged just because they can't afford the necessary education. This is the view of Governor General Sir Elliott Belgrave, who says his scholarship is intended to assist financially disadvantaged Barbadians with university tuition. In his address, he lauded the work of the country's founding fathers for their part in ensuring Barbadians remain highly educated. Now, in the face of financial difficulties faced by the current government, he's calling on Barbadians who have the money to help those who can't afford.
Our need for qualified graduates in all fields of endeavor remains undiminished, as does our need to pull together in times of difficulty. Those of us who care about this island and about future generations must step up to the plate and show our children and our children's children that we believe in them and in their ability to carry the torch forward to an ever brighter future.
The scholarship has been aided by a number of distinguished Barbadians, and later this year, up to 5 scholarships will be available to students in accounts, marine engineering, architecture, maritime law, and legislative drafting at the University of the West Indies.
We believe that these are areas where our economy would benefit from greater expertise. Students need to be able to find jobs when they have completed their studies, and they need to consider what the economy will need in 5 or 10 years' time.
The Governor General says he looks forward to presenting the scholarships to the island's young people, and he's confident that the project will be a memorable one for years to come. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Well, social media is now part of our everyday lives. It's also a big part of mainstream media. And as a result, guidelines now need to be created for how social media should be used by broadcasters and journalists. And that's the aim of a workshop currently underway at the Blue Horizon Hotel. Lisa Lord reports.
Journalists and media practitioners from across the Caribbean are attending the workshop organized by UNESCO and the Public Media Alliance. Advisor for Communication and Information at the UNESCO office in Jamaica, Isabel Vieira, says the line between professional and personal communication can sometimes seem blurred, and this is why the establishment of guidelines for those in the media profession is critical.
Notably, when a response is needed to the increasing challenges of the so-called post-truth era, to issues such as misinformation, fake news, sensationalism, and alternative facts. UNESCO will support its member states in formulating policies and strategies to strengthen global standards on social media, internet governance, and information priorities that should manage these risks.
General Manager of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, Doug Hoyt, says social media is forcing traditional news outlets to break their stories much quicker. He says it is now embedded in the very DNA of our relationships.
Imagine if you didn't have WhatsApp, what would happen? You wouldn't know about your neighbor. You wouldn't know about your enemy. You wouldn't know about a lot of things going on in the world today. There was one time when we questioned, and it wasn't so very long ago, when we questioned how we could live with something so invasive. And already we're talking about it's something that we cannot live without.
Secretary General of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union, Sonia Gill, gave an example of how much people seem to depend on social media, especially during a crisis.
I'm speaking particularly in Jamaica in May and June of 2010, the state of emergency and the reliance of the ordinary person on social media for critical information on what was happening during those very dark and difficult times. The creativity, responsiveness of traditional media engaging through social platforms and non-traditional media, I think, have a lot to demonstrate.
The workshop ends tomorrow. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
Thanks, Lisa. Well, we don't often hear about it, but we'll tell you later about a push toward healthy lifestyles by some teenagers. That's coming up later on the CBC Evening News. Stay with us.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153# to sign up to Digicel today.
Yes is a beautiful word. It empowers us. It brings satisfaction. And since you earn up to 3% cash back on everyday purchases with the Scotiabank Gold MasterCard, that's a lot of satisfaction, a lot more often. Plus, you get a welcome bonus from the get-go. Scotiabank Gold MasterCard is the card that keeps on giving, so it's easier for you to create many more precious yes moments. Apply today.
So, in an effort to test the credibility of this so-called speed squad, we have some random questions for you to answer. How quickly can you change clothes? The bag of groceries on the table. How fast can you guys prepare a meal? And go! All right. Which network gives you the speed you prefer and enjoy? Join the fastest team and shift your Flow Fiber broadband into high gear by upgrading now at no extra cost for 3 months. Plus, enjoy the best of Flow TV for free.
Last question. Who's the fastest?
I had to ask.
Upgrade now.
Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth, Stephen Lashley, says government will not be providing lunch for campers attending this year's National Summer Youth Camps. Speaking at the ministry's headquarters, Mr. Lashley says this is due to budgetary constraints. However, he says parents are understanding of the change.
But we do face a budgetary constraint. We've had to adjust that, mainly because of the expenditure cuts which we've had to undertake. So we have had good cooperation from parents. In those cases where there are difficulties, then of course we will seek to address those difficulties. But there has been fairly good compliance in relation to dealing with that particular matter.
The Broadway to Barbados charity is on track to become the single largest donor to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Over the last 5 years, the registered charity has raised close to $2.7 million. Executive Trustee Robert Bork says the money was used to improve patient care through the purchase of vital medical equipment. The donations continued as the neonatal intensive care unit received a $40,000 Nihon Koden monitor. Donations from Scotiabank and the family of the late Dr. St. John assisted in the purchase. Mr. Bork overall is pleased to render assistance to the QEH.
We determined that the Queen Elizabeth Hospital offered the most broad-ranged opportunity to help Barbadians generally. There's many charities in the country and they're all very deserving of help and assistance, but you know, the hospital is there for everyone. And especially those who perhaps can't afford appropriate medical care. So to the extent that we're able to contribute, first to the MICU unit, and now we're going to the Accident and Emergency Department, and we hope to upgrade their equipment capabilities.
Consultant in the Department of Pediatrics, Dr. Clyde Cave, accepted the donation on behalf of the hospital. He stressed providing intensive care is an expensive undertaking and the unit welcomes support aside from what is offered from government and the QEH.
The monitor that we have received today is the level of monitor that we would like to use in our most intensive care beds. Within the NICU itself, we plan to have 5 what are called level 3 beds, which have the highest level of support, including ventilations, monitoring of brain, heart, lungs, oxygen, and that's where this monitor comes in. It's a multimodal monitor that will allow us to, in real time, see how the baby is doing, while we actually do therapy to the baby, like supporting with the ventilator, with the IV therapy, with perhaps pediatric surgery and other things.
There's a call tonight for healthier conditions for young people, and it's coming from one of their own. Well, it's actually coming from a group of school children, but they're led by 18-year-old Ashley Lashley. It's not often one hears young people calling for better food choices for their peers, but Lodge School sixth former Ashley Lashley and some of her friends have taken a stand. They're worried about the recent statistics that have shown an alarming rise in cases of chronic non-communicable diseases among school children. So they've launched the Schools Against Non-Communicable Diseases Charity Fun Walk, and they've also made some requests.
I want to make an urgent call to all regional governments starting in Barbados to reduce significantly the high level of sugars in our beverages, and also to introduce a permanent subject on our regional schools curriculum, healthy lifestyle living, focusing on sport and nutrition, which are 2 fundamental components to help combat non-communicable diseases.
The initiative, which is being done with support from the American University of Barbados, has the full support of both the Pan American Health Organization and the government. Dr. Godfrey Shreb says with international recommendations calling for at least 1 hour of exercise every day for adolescents, the drive by the young people is critical.
And one of the major risk factors for non-communicable disease is physical inactivity. And that's why I also applaud the action that you are taking for this charity fun walk. Because we need to install in adolescents, in young children, the habit of physical activity.
In the meantime, Tourism Minister Richard Seeley has pledged government support.
It is, of course, a reality that some other conditions in the communicable realm tend to get a lot more of the attention. But the NCDs, if we have to be honest, are doing perhaps more damage than any other grouping, and therefore it is important that we do give it some focus.
The Charity Fun Walk comes off on July 4th and begins at the Barbados Community College. It ends with a health fair at the AUB's Wilde campus. With just over a month until Junior Kadooment, bands are in full preparation mode. A CBC team caught up with the production team of one Junior Kadooment band to see how things are going.
At the age of 17, Trevor Nichols spent the crop-over season working with veteran band leader Gwyneth Squares, a decision that would inspire his career choice and give birth to the Young Spirits Cadiz Kadooment band. Mr. Nichols says after that experience, he never looked back.
And I said that's something that I would like to do on my own. So I started out in 1994. I brought my first band, and then I did it in 1995. Then I took a long break because I knew that I wasn't ready. Because doing a band and just waking up one morning and just say you're doing a band, there's a lot more to it besides what people see here. So I took a break and I came back in 2010. And we've been with this from 2010 till present.
And it appears Ms. Squares has taught him well. Every year since 2010, with the exception of one, his band has placed in the top 3. His concept for this year is called Color Me Crop Over, and while he's not willing to fully let the cat out of the bag, he says the band will be depicting the festival.
We're actually making Crop Over into a person. So Crop Over is not a festival, it's going to be a person, but you will see what is going to play out on the day of the event.
The band is aiming to attract about 200 children this year, and some of the sections have already sold out. Although Mr. Nichols is the designer, in total there are 20 people on the production team to ensure that the band can respond to the number of expected patrons. First-time member of the production team, Althea Mears, says she has been enjoying the experience so far.
They always invited me to come and help work with them, but you know I'm a little busy because I'm a seamstress too. So this year, you know, I say come and give them the hand, and it's a very, very good experience. I'm enjoying it.
Mr. Nichols has no plans of starting a band for the adults. He says he feels at home designing for Cadiz Kadooment. Tristan Ward, CBC News.
We will bring you the latest on the damage caused by Tropical Storm Brett in Trinidad and Tobago in our regional segment, and that's coming up next on the Evening News.
Yes is a beautiful word. It empowers us. It brings satisfaction. And since you earn up to 3% cash back on everyday purchases with the Scotiabank Gold MasterCard, that's a lot of satisfaction, a lot more often. Plus, you get a welcome bonus from the get-go. Scotiabank Gold MasterCard is the card that keeps on giving, so it's easier for you to create many more precious yes moments. Apply today.
Peoples, we store just got even better. Come on in. Come down to the new renovated People's Market in Tudor Bridge with bigger aisles and even more in store. All your general grocery needs. A whole new fruits and vegetables section. Beer, wine and liquor. A wide selection of meat and fish. And everything for your outdoor chilling and barbecue grilling. But most of all, everything at low prices. Right, Miss Evers?
That's right, Ma. And now we have the People's Mall too.
People, come on down to the People's Market in Tudor Bridge.
Guyana's Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit detained a man headed for Barbados. He's in police custody after excreting 72 pellets of cocaine. More in this report.
A Maikoni East Coast Demerara man is the latest cocaine mule to be busted by the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit. On Sunday, June 18th, the man, Randolph Mayer, also called Roach, was an outgoing passenger at the Eugene Karai International Airport destined for Barbados. A release from Kanu said Mayer was arrested after being observed by a vigilant Kanu officer. He was later transported to a city hospital where he excreted 72 pellets of cocaine weighing 592 grams. According to the release, the man remains in police custody pending further investigations, but is expected to appear in the Georgetown Magistrates Court where he will be charged. In recent times, Kanu has stepped up the fight against couriers trying to smuggle the illicit substance out of Guyana.
Trinidad and Tobago is in damage assessment mode following the passage of Tropical Storm Brett. Heavy rain and strong winds flooded communities, uprooted trees and downed power lines across the country. All airports were reopened on Tuesday, although public schools and many businesses remain closed. The government in a statement said it was dispatching cleanup crews as soon as the flooding receded. The Venezuelan island of Margarita was also dealt a blow from Brett. The Dutch islands of Aruba, Bonaire and Curacao are preparing for its passage. Several Jamaican businesses are hoping they can export some new products into Barbados, but they're complaining that the transportation costs are preventing them from trading with Barbados and other Caribbean countries. Business manufacturers were speaking at Jampro's Caribbean Market Mission opening ceremony at the Hilton Hotel yesterday. They got the chance to showcase some of their products, which include coffee, furniture, drinks, food items, and hygienic products. The manufacturers say at present it's much easier to trade with countries outside of the Caribbean.
Is high air freight costs, high logistical costs to get the products here. That is some of the issues that we're facing. But aside from that, we have a very, very high quality produce. So hopefully the customers like what they see.
Well, for you sports fans, we'll give you a peek into the world of sports in just a moment. But before we get to that, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.